and thank you so much for taking the time to join us for today's webinar on money and mental health. My name is Vonda Butler. I'm a certified financial social work coach, as well as a consultant with the Center for Financial Social Work. In a moment, I'll be introducing today's speaker, Rita Wolfson. Okay, first, let's take a moment to go over some common questions. There are a few messages and links posted in the chat box. We like to emphasize slides are not shared. However, a recording of this webinar will be available on our website, financialsocialwork.com. Please type your questions in the space provided, and we'll do our best to answer as many as possible near the end of the webinar. Again, if you have any technical issues, we do encourage you to visit the GoToWebinars help page, and that link has been posted for you. Rita Wolfson is the founder of Financial Social Work Discipline. For over 2 decades, she has been creating uniquely original programs, materials, products, and services to expand the field of financial social work. Her goal is to help everyone build the competence and confidence to take control of their money and their lives. Rita has empowered financial social work graduates who work across this country and around the world, helping men and women understand there is much more involved in financial well-being than dollars, cents, and budgets. Her work focuses on how thoughts, feelings, attitudes, and beliefs drive financial behavior, and how financial behavior determines financial circumstances. And it is my pleasure to welcome Rita Wolfson. Hi, Rita.
Hi, Vonda. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. We've been really looking forward to this particular webinar. Every month we do offer a free webinar to our financial social work community. We do that because there's so much happening in the field of financial wellness, and we want to share all of that. All of the new things that we possibly can with the community. So we have an absolute record number of registrants and already attendees today. So we should probably get started. Why money and mental health? Well, I'm going to give you 2 reasons that we actually decided to do this particular webinar. Many months of the year, we have guest speakers from Consumer Credit Counseling, was in January. We also had the Director of Education from Experian teaching us about new things about credit scores and boosting credit scores last month. So lots of people are trying to reach us as this webinar begins, and we are not in a position to respond right now. So why money and mental health? Well, it begins with financial social work. And so I'm going to begin by explaining to many of you who are new to financial social work just a few things about the foundation, the essence of who and what we are. We believe, and you can see this is the Wolfson financial wellness model, that everything around financial well-being stems from our relationship with money and self. Those 2 pieces need to mesh together because they drive our financial behavior. And you will hear this several times, and I hope you will take it with you when you leave today, that to us, financial behavior is represented by how we earn, spend, save, share, and borrow. And it is those 5 components, how we earn, spend, save, share, and borrow, that determines our financial circumstances. That gives us 5 different areas to work with clients, and it is the essence of financial behavior. And as you see my little dancing arrow, that is where financial behavioral change happens. And until and unless behavior changes, nothing changes. So right here, you see a pretty strong foundation of what financial social work is. So when I talk about your relationship with your money, your relationship with yourself. We all have a relationship with money. We don't think about it when we wake up in the morning or perhaps even during the course of our day, but it's very real. And we have this relationship with ourself. And if we don't feel good about ourselves, we are not going to take the time and make the effort to improve our financial futures. So it's about feeling good, having self-esteem, self-respect, self-worth, self-confidence that's so integrated into everything to do with money. And so here we go again. And I'm pretty sure if we did a poll at the end of the webinar, most of you will remember that financial behavior is about earning, spending, saving, sharing, and borrowing. So your relationship with your money and yourself. Financial social work is an ongoing methodology. It is highly experiential, and we know now that it's a behavioral model. It incorporates that ongoing financial education, motivation, validation, and support. It is very interactive, introspective, and strengths based. It works with individuals and in group settings, and many of our graduates use financial social work to practice financial therapy. It integrates transformational learning plus the theoretical model of behavioral change. These are designed to assure that our work with clients is self-reflective, is interactive, is leading to sustainable long-term financial behavioral change. And the goal of all financial social work is to help people make peace with their money. When you're at peace with your money, you're at peace with yourself, and you're much more likely to be healthy in mind, body, and soul. And we do all of that through our certification, through these monthly free webinars, through the many free downloads on our website. This just gives you a very quick look at what's involved in the certification. So let's get started with a poll. We would love to know who's in our audience. And I just need to put up the first poll. Okay. If your profession or industry isn't listed here, you can go ahead and put it in the question box, and later on, we will read some of those. Okay. Great. About 70% of you have indicated which areas you're coming to us from. I'll go ahead and just give you a few more seconds, and then I will share the results. All right, let's go. And I'm going, if you want to vote, go ahead and we'll count it down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I will close that poll and I will share those results with you. Okay, share. So 3/4 of you are from the nonprofit arena, and that's probably just exactly where we fall with all of our students and graduates, with more and more coming from the education field. And we have lots of graduates working in government and in the military. So thanks for that. We'll have 2 more polls a little later on. And let's keep going. Okay. Okay. So So I gave you the one reason about why we chose money and mental health as our topic this month. And here's another one. In the 22 years since I started all of this, I have recognized how connected money is, not only, certainly, especially to mental health, but also to physical, emotional, all these different areas of our lives. But it's really been overlooked. When I went to start preparing for this webinar, um, which we decided to do quite a few months ago, there wasn't all that much out there. So I've pulled this together from a number of different places that I hope you'll find of interest, because my goal is to paint a picture for everyone today that looks at this connection between money and mental health. I think it's really important, and I think we need to pay more attention to it. So today's agenda, we'll start talking with the WHO, the demographics and the populations. We'll look at the overall toll of financial stress. How does it impact people's lives? We're going to look at how complicated money is. And we need to do that because we need to understand more about financial discord. Financial discord is kind of out of control in this country. We'll look at the effects of financial problems on mental health, the role of cognitive distortions in mental health, a few tips for addressing cognitive distortions, and we'll finish up by looking at money and mental health through the financial social work lens, because all of this, of course, comes from the work I've created over the past 22 years in financial social work. So let's take a look at the WHO. Even relatively wealthy Americans are so worried about their finances that it's affecting their mental and physical health. Well, at least 75%, if not more, of us on this call work with low income clients. This article came out last week, and I felt it just was too connected to what we'd be discussing not to include it. So this Bank of America survey reveals financial concerns among wealthy Americans, but it certainly, as we all know, translates to middle income and low income men and women. They found that 59% of their respondents and they surveyed more than 1,000 people, 59% had said financial concerns affect their mental health, and 56% said that it affects their physical health. We had millennial and Generation Z age groups as the worst off, and Gen X and baby boomers were somewhat better off. So we'll start with some young adult stats. 75% of young adults define adulthood as being financially independent from their parents. Unfortunately, 70% of these young people have needed and taken financial support from their parents in the past year. 8 in 10 young adult households carry some form of debt, including credit card and student debt. We'll be looking at that a little more in a minute. 1 in 4 young adults has already made an early withdrawal from a 401k. Now, this says that it's specifically in this research that it was for credit card debt. Doesn't touch on student debt, which is such a huge problem in this country. And 58% of young adults say they wouldn't be able to afford their current lifestyles without help from their parents. And of course, not all parents can provide that help. So now we'll move on to college students and graduates. 60% of students feel their student loan debt worries are spiraling out of control. They're worried that they won't have enough money to last the semester. They're afraid of tuition rising. And their biggest worry is about whether they'll have a job after graduation. Their student loan debt prevents them from going on vacation, buying a car, paying rent, having a quality of life, and even purchasing necessities. The statistics to me are a bit daunting when I read about how many homeless college students and how many students on campus are food insecure. It's very troubling to me. We'll move on to servicemen and women. We're nearly 9 in 10 active service members, and 84% of their spouses or partners are worried about their personal finances. Service members are now 2 times as unlikely to be able to pay all of their bills on time. These statistics do tell a story and help paint the picture of who is struggling and at risk for mental health problems. 45% of all adults age 65 and up had incomes below the poverty line in 2013. And there's no reason to believe that those statistics have improved at all. There's so many reasons. Fraud is on the rise. With low interest rates, seniors don't have the ability to earn the kind of returns on investments if they have any. Healthcare costs are soaring. There's no job market for seniors. Well, there's a job market. And it's interesting because I have seen more older people working in retail than ever before. But the reality is that uh, younger people will work for less than older people. And one really major area here is debt. Student loan debt among seniors is $18 billion. That's more than 500% of the level of student loan debt in 2005. I did want to mention that women are far more likely to be living in poverty as they age. So not everyone is benefiting from record low unemployment and a decade-long bull market. There are those in certain industries that I talk to and meet with who think the economy is just great. I'm not one of those people because there's way too many Americans being left behind. And there's a lot of different reasons, but certainly race and education are key components of leaving behind men and women in this economy. And so who struggles the most to make ends meet? Adults under the age of 35. Once again, we have women for many different reasons, African Americans, Hispanics, and single adults. We don't have enough time to go through all of these in any depth, but again, this is just painting that picture for you. 40% of Americans struggle to pay for at least one basic need. Now, we know, those of us on this call, we're all familiar with a lot of this information. I think what I have felt is missing is tying it into mental health, because all of everything we've been talking about up till now takes a toll on us physically, mentally, emotionally, and it's that financial stress that is leading to these mental health problems. Because worry about that, financial stress, worry, they exacerbate mental health problems. So 86% of respondents claimed that mental health problems were worsened by their financial situation, and 72% said that their financial situation worsened as a result of their mental health problems. It is very circular because mental health problems do contribute to money management challenges. The a mental health illness may require taking time off from work, losing income, maybe losing a job. Um, and it's going to make it much more difficult to actually make financial decisions, which are hard enough for most people to make. And it can lead to spending to self-soothe or to feel better or try to build self-esteem. So financial health problems, mental health problems, they're all coming together as a result of money, money, money. And there's a real physical toll um, of financial stress, and it isn't a pretty one. So women are more likely than men to feel the impact of their finances. So on mental health, 64% of women versus 52% of men feel that impact of money problems. And on physical health, 60% of women feel it versus 51% of men. So, when asked the question whether managing money is a taxing reality, and given a choice to never have to manage their money again, these are some of the choices that Americans made. 41% were willing to give up all social media platforms. 37% were willing to give up carbs, sugar, and alcohol. You can read the rest of them, but you can see that a lot of people don't want to deal with their money. It's a problem. We are a debtor nation. So we do have to make a lot of choices and sacrifices to keep up with that debt. So according to this graphic, there's a number of people that are making those hard choices. Unfortunately, um, it's not enough people. We have reached a level of debt in this country that never existed before. That's credit card debt, and it's also student loan debt. And these are the kinds of things that keep us all up at night. So we need to think about money is complicated. It involves so much more, as Vonda mentioned, than dollars, cents, and budgets. How complicated is it? It's pretty complicated. You can see from this graphic what we think and have experienced and work with clients on. Um, let's just go ahead and take each one of these and look at them briefly. So money is the source of many different thoughts, feelings, attitudes, and beliefs. And it's something that's very difficult to talk about, understand, or manage. In this society, we still don't talk about money, and it's still very taboo. But financial health and healing is going to require making friends with your money. We'll get into that a little further on. But when we look at money as the enemy, we allow ourselves to ignore it and avoid it, which only makes things worse. How about the role of self? The relationship we have with ourselves is definitely as important as the relationship we have with our money, because what we think and believe about ourselves contributes to our financial behavior. And as I said right at the top of the webinar, our financial behavior determines our financial circumstances. Behavior, we've talked about. Okay, this is probably the third time I've told you. You probably all have it by now. You're going to be tested before you're allowed to leave. Behavior, how we earn, spend, save, share, and borrow. That's financial behavior. And until and unless behavior changes, nothing changes. The others in our lives, our family, our friends, our colleagues, their wants and needs and their choices, they influence us. They may make us spend more in certain situations. It can become a big problem. And society, these pieces have a lot to do with our finances, and we're totally unaware of them because money exists in a society which is constantly bombarding us. And those stimuli shape our relationship with our money and with ourselves. And finally, life cycle. There are so many tasks and expectations intended to be met. Some of these were once the responsibility of employers and governments, but now they're the responsibility of individuals and families who aren't prepared to handle them. There's no one going to take you by the hand and teach you these things and talk about these things and show you these things. And so I very strongly see our role in the helping professions as being in the position to help clients create greater long-term financial behavioral change and to help them take control of their money and gain control of their lives. Health, financial problems, and the stress they cause are detrimental to physical, mental, emotional, and psychological well-being. Most often, this cause and effect goes unrecognized, and it leaves us, the body and the mind, struggling to cope with consequences, physical consequences, high blood pressure, ulcers, anxieties. So, yep, there's a lot more than dollars, cents, and budgets. And the complexity, as I said, money is complicated. It leads to financial discord. 8 out of 10 Americans say that money is their number one stressor. We see here the money, the financial discord has actually reached a tipping point in this country. 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And we saw some of these statistics come to life really during the government shutdown a few months ago. 13% of Americans believe they will remain in debt the rest of their lives. Over half of Americans don't have a budget. And I really think that's a low statistic. I think it's much higher than that. 28% can't or don't pay their bills on time. A few more, 50% don't participate in an employer-led 401k retirement or 403b. 40% of Americans carry credit card debt month to month. When you carry credit card debt, most of you must know that you start paying interest from the very minute that you make the purchase. 32% of Americans have zero non-retirement savings. 29% can only handle emergencies by using a credit card. And the fact is that more men and women than ever are using credit cards for the purchase of monthly necessities, but unable to make even the minimum payments. That's going to keep you up at night. I find this statistic so staggering, but this is research based. 21% of Americans believe that winning the lottery is most viable way to fund retirement. It's a problem. It's a problem. Okay, our second poll. How much does the average American spend on non-essentials in 1 year? Let's find that poll and launch it. Okay. We always have a very good audience. This is our largest audience ever, and you're living up to the expectations. 60% of you have voted. We like to get to at least 80 or 85%, and we usually do. This is anonymous, so go ahead and tell us what you think. And the next slide will share the answer with you. Okay. So 75% of you have voted. If you want to vote, go ahead. I'm going to count it down. 5, 4, and then close it. 3, 2, 1. I'm going to close it. Okay, we got 77%. Pretty good. And let's share it. And we always have a really smart audience too, because you, as I close this, will see how many of you were right. 18,000 is what the average American spends on non-essentials. 30% of you had that right. Not a statistic you may be very well familiar with, but worth thinking about as we contemplate the relationship between money and mental health. This is an article that just came out last week. If you look closely at the graphic, you will see that the gifts and the little bride and groom and the flowers, they're all made out of dollar bills. I really found this very troubling, that Americans who are already under record levels of debt are taking out wedding specific loans. So we saw in a graphic a few slides back that many people are postponing things like having a family or buying a home or getting married, but obviously not everyone is choosing to postpone. People are moving ahead. So here we look at the cost of financial stress. So we see the statistics, but it's interesting across the bottom also to see some of the symptoms: irritable and angry, nervous and anxious, lack of motivation, fatigued, overwhelmed, depressed. The statistics on how the financial stress and financial problems impact the workplace are very, um, very troubling and overwhelming. Fonda has loaded two of our ebooks. One is on financial social work in the handout section, and one is on money in the workplace. So you can download those and see some of those statistics and the toll that it takes on the workplace. And this, of course, is most troubling. 16% of suicides in the US occur in response to a financial problem. Are we doing enough to recognize when money is an underlying issue in the clients we work with? So the effects of financial problems. Financial stress is on the rise. We have retirement savings depleted, not building, consumerism, 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 buy, 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 buy. The messages are with us 24/7. Everywhere we look, they're on our phones. We're unable to escape them, and that's part of that graphic of how complicated we talked about money being. We have student loan debt, we have credit card debt, we have the cost of childcare, of healthcare. All of those costs are rising. And there are many reasons for it. Wages are still remaining stagnant. Many people are part of the gig economy, which is a whole nother area that we could do more than one webinar on. Sandwich generation, increased cost of living, lack of debt management skills, and as I talked about before, a greater share of financial responsibility is falling to individuals and families. We still don't, for the most part, teach anything about personal finance or money management in our schools. Although I have definitely seen a trend in 2019 where more schools are moving in that direction. So men and women with financial problems are more susceptible to physical problems. And this graphic, you just have to look at how much more financial stress people have, the more physical problems they actually have. Men and women with financial problems are more likely to experience emotional pain. That's not surprising, but it's very real. And of course, men and women with financial stress are much more prone to experience mental health problems. Part of this cycle that we're talking about is because when you have financial problems, you are more likely to neglect your health care because of the costs. We've all read stories and met clients and worked with clients who had to choose between taking their medication. So when it comes to preventative care, that falls by the wayside. Money and mental health, the role of cognitive distortions. There is a significant role in money in this topic of money and mental health that we'll just look at briefly. That's cognitive distortions. These are erroneous thoughts and beliefs that people have that only reinforce their negative and erroneous self-perception. They sabotage self-esteem, self-confidence, and hope. They're self-destructive. They keep people stuck and thinking irrationally. So what do they look like? The first one we have is filtering, taking negative details and magnifying them while filtering out all of the possible. So we're talking about seeing only the negative and ignoring the positive. Not that different from polarized thinking, black and white thinking. Everything is either good or everything is either bad. We're looking at the world and our financial circumstances only in extremes. We tend to overgeneralize. If we get one poor grade, then we anticipate getting all poor grades, which leads to jumping to conclusions that if something goes wrong, then everything else, like a relationship or a grade, is going to go wrong. So I gave you the link here to Psych Central, where they talk about these 15 common cognitive distortions. And they do play a significant role in money and mental health, along with all of the other pieces that we're talking about. So we'll just look at a few tips for addressing cognitive distortions. We're going to try and save enough time at the end of the webinar to answer your questions. So you can be writing those questions into the question box if you have them. So reframing is a really strong way for addressing cognitive distortions. Having clients identify and write down their biggest worries and concerns so that they can evaluate whether these are legitimate, genuine concerns. Are they fact, fiction, opinion? When you understand the differences in whether they're real or not, you can begin reframing your thinking from negative thoughts to more positive thoughts. Stop being so self-critical. Start using positive thinking and mantras. Certainly ways that we use around many different approaches to client work and very relevant to money and mental health. Stop thinking black and white. Again, rarely is anything ever all right or all wrong. By helping clients see shades of gray, we help them to rethink their financial circumstances and reconnect to their money. Shoulding. We do a lot of shoulding. And these are just judgments. And they're evaluating behavior and shouldn't be used. So we can substitute it would be nice if, or it would be more helpful if. We need to stop shoulding. Labeling. Labeling words usually refer to specific behaviors, not to the person you actually are. Labels are unhelpful and unhealthy. So we should all try to refrain from using them. Our last poll. I came up with this one because I'm really interested in knowing how our audience feels about this, how you think about it. So, on average, how much of a client's presenting problem do you think or feel has a financial component? I appreciate your participating in this one, everyone. Okay, 70% of you have voted. Can we make it past 80, everybody? Okay, we're at 80, 81. So I'll count it down and close it if that's everybody. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you all. Let me share that with you. Many, many years ago, when I started, and I did not set out to create financial social work. I often talk about the fact that it chose me. I didn't necessarily choose it, but I did recognize how many of clients presenting problems, whether divorce or abuse or illness, had this financial component. And I've never asked or polled on this. So I really appreciate actually 82% of you voted, and 71% of you felt that you see that very often, and 25% of you frequently. So thank you for sharing that with me. I appreciate it. And as we wind down and go towards the Q&A segment, I think it is important to recognize that if we really want to help clients, we have to be willing to talk about the money and invite money into the work we do. And with that, I am going to share with you some of the financial social work core concepts as we look at money and mental health through the financial social work lens. This I feel so strongly about, and don't think that it is addressed as well as it could be, this cycle of financial illiteracy, because we have financially illiterate adults and parents who continue to raise financially illiterate children who grow into the next generation of financially illiterate adults who experience financial stress and problems. And as they escalate, nothing changes. And when nothing changes, nothing changes. It just becomes a cycle of financial illiteracy. And we need to end that. And we need to help parents feel more confident and competent at teaching this to their children and in practicing it in their own lives. And we need to have schools doing more with financial literacy. I do believe that North Carolina, where I live, just passed a law this week that high school students would need, going forward, will need one semester of personal finance. And I've read lots of articles and comments saying that they don't need it. We shouldn't take time from other forms of history. That financial literacy doesn't make a difference. And to all of that, I really say, not true, not true, not true. If we don't talk about money, if we don't teach the lessons, is it going to make someone money smart? Is it going to prevent them from taking student loans? None of us can know that, but we can all plant seeds and hope that they take root over time. But for sure, if all we have are role models who have financial stress and financial problems of their own, then this intergenerational cycle, this cycle of financial illiteracy, is bound inevitably to continue. And we don't look at money through the life cycle. This is how I believe we should be addressing it through the life cycle. We should start with young children, and we should expose young children um, in stores and talk about looking for those teaching moments. And in the preteen years, we should be discussing money with them and teaching them to think about their spending and the cost of things. And by adolescence, we should be doing hands-on and experiential learning with them so that by young adulthood, they are practicing and doing things with their money that makes sense. They're aware of how much they're borrowing, how much it's going to cost them. And into adulthood, that's when we hit financial reality. And it's too late. Well, it's never too late. I really do believe that. But it would be so much more helpful if people knew more about money earlier on. And then into older adulthood, it's about passing on the lessons you know and maybe the assets you have. So that is a core concept of financial social work. And I did touch on this earlier. Make friends with your money. Stop thinking of money as the enemy and start treating it like your very best friend. Again, when you avoid your money, it's because you think everything is negative with it. When you think of it as your friend and you understand how much you can do to improve your financial well-being and how helpful money can be, it makes a huge difference and is an important piece of long-term financial wellness. And here's another important piece. Dollars and cents don't make financial choices. Did your credit card or cash ever jump out of your wallet and into a register? Did they ever decide what you should buy? We each have an inner money self. And those really, the basis of our inner money self is our thoughts, feelings, attitudes, and beliefs about money. And that's what drives how we earn, spend, save, share, and borrow. So if we had more time, I would have you close your eyes and say hello to your inner money self, because that's an important core concept of financial social work. Financial self-care. Those of us in the helping field are pretty familiar with the relevance and importance of self-care. But let's bring that to our finances. And to me, the definition is paying attention to the financial component of your life. We all have one. We need to understand that when it comes to your own financial future, no one cares more about it, nor should they. No one benefits or struggles as a result of it more than you do. And no one is as capable as you of taking control of your money and gaining control of your life. This is a reframing of our relationship with our money that's going to do a whole lot more for us than thinking that we can't do this. And actually, in that graphic, you see financial self-care principles. That is a free download on our website that you can access under resources. You should be pretty familiar with this one. Financial behavior determines financial circumstances, and it's how we earn, spend, save, share, and borrow. That is an incredibly important concept of financial social work. And the last one we're going to share with you is that financial problems are an outcome of your thoughts, feelings, attitudes, and beliefs about money more than they are a reflection of the dollars and cents you have. So learn to solve your money problems by first solving your mind problems. And just before, one more slide before starting the Q&A, I wanted to tell you about our July webinar. Karen Zilberstein her new book is on parents under pressure, advocating for children with special needs. She will be presenting for us on Thursday, July 18th at 2 p.m. And more monthly free webinars will come to our website and come to you via email. So we hope you'll continue to join us. And so, Miss Vonda, do we have
Yeah.
questions?
Yes, we do. Let's see. Quite a few. Oops, they're starting to move. Okay, where can we access the financial self-care principle booklet? Rita, do you want to just repeat that again?
You can
I know
see our
you.
website right here,
Mhm.
financialsocialwork.com. If you go to the website and you click resources, there's products and then there's resources. And under resources, there are many wonderful free downloads that you can access.
Okay,
And
thank
you
you,
may
Rita.
want to consider taking the certification while you're at it. Go ahead, Vonda.
Absolutely. So we do have quite a few questions about the slides, the PowerPoint, and so maybe quite a few people didn't hear that the slides are proprietary. However, the recording will be on the website, and I believe Rita tomorrow.
I
Tomorrow will be available.
it usually is on the website by the following week. But for this one, because we had such a record-breaking registration and attendance, I believe it may be on there later. It takes weeks and months to create these slides. A lot of research, a lot of time creating and developing them. So we don't share those, but we do share the recording, which you can go through at your own pace, stop, look at, work with. So we also, if you register and you can't attend, we will send you the recording. But today we will send you, uh, on this one, we will send you the recording so you have it. Okay.
Thank you, Rita. How do you support clients who has difficulties adjusting to lower income? That would be after losing a job, family loses wealth, bankruptcy, etc.
There's not a one size fits all. And I think we all know that. And we have to work on it on many different levels. About a year and a half ago, in April of 2018, Vonda, we did um, that ebook with a few of the essays from some of our graduates, and and that's a free download to everybody. Um, Somebody wrote about working with a client in that situation. Her essay really stood out to me, and you might find that interesting and helpful. Uh, the 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 true money response to that would be the B word, but nobody likes the B word for budget. I mean, on the emotional level, there is so much going on uh, with losing a job or foreclosure or bankruptcy. I'm This is just a huge life transition. From a financial perspective, though, this really has to be addressed before debt grows out of sight, because that only increases the stress. So, Of course, we want to meet the client where the client is while balancing the reality of less money. And that one essay, I just remember that the client just was unable to accept how life had changed. It takes a lot of work. It does take a lot of work. If the client is willing to deal with the dollars and cents, then helping with a budget would be, very would make a difference. But dealing with the emotional portion of that is really important to getting the client to be able to deal with the money portion of it.
Okay, thank you. Curious how you handle billing for FSW. I'm in private practice, both for private pay and insurance. When we are dealing with folks that are struggling financially, how, I think they meant, how do we stay financially successful ourselves while still helping our clients with money behaviors? It's kind of a two-part question. How you handle billing for FSW?
Well, it's an amazing question. I really love that question. Um, I believe, 22 years ago when I started this, no one was even talking about it. And in the past, maybe a little less than a decade, um, and certainly now, everyone, okay, not everyone, but many people are talking about it. And I think the time is going to come um, that maybe the next DSM may actually include something on the issue of money, which would allow for billing. I do know that there is no way to bill specifically for it, but that because it has an overriding foundational component of depression and anxiety and so many other um, psychological and emotional and mental health pieces, that's how the majority of private practice practitioners do bill. And the second piece of your question is even more interesting because how do you charge someone who has no money? When I saw clients in a private practice, which was many years ago before I really grew financial social work and did all the travel and training and certifications and those pieces, I did work on a sliding scale. However, that's not available. Certainly not everyone can support themselves on a sliding scale. And so we have, I'm just reflecting here, quite frankly, we have this cycle in the helping professions. How how do we charge for it? How do we support ourselves? How do we bring it into our client work? Um, Maybe you'd like to email me and we could work on a webinar on this topic. It again, there's never going to be just one way. I'm able to tell you exactly, what I know how it's built for, and that I see, the move in psychology, and believe me, when I started this 20 some years ago, and even as recently as 10 or 8 years ago, I just didn't see this potential for it to make the DSM. But there's just a lot more awareness, but that doesn't and so I do think eventually there will be a classification for billing for it. What I don't know And what I can't answer you is how you can support yourself, because working with clients with financial problems is always going to present a difficulty. It's just popped into my head though. You know, when you go to the dentist or the doctor, see, here's the conundrum. I mean, can you accept a credit card? Honestly, I've never thought of this until you brought up this question, which is bringing up a lot of thoughts for me. And you go and you have all this expensive dental work or medical work, and they offer you a new credit card, which of course you would have to qualify for. But then you're helping a client that has financial problems build more debt. I think we really should explore that further. I thank you for that question. I wish I had a better answer. But I would be willing, more than willing, and happy to talk to you about it. You can see my email and my 800 number if you want to talk. And someone had just texted, do you need to be a social worker to take the certification? And you do not. No discrimination here. If you look on the website or in the ebook, you'll see that there are several different classifications, but we do have as many non-social workers as social
Exactly. Yeah,
workers.
and I'm one of those graduates. I'm not a social worker.
Yay, you.
So here's a question. I know the clock is ticking away, but and there's a lot more we can get in. You just say stop. But this question is there a workshop around these topics or this topic that can be presented to a group of clients, or would it be done via one-on-one therapy?
Whoa, let's see. We have lots of free downloads on the website. Our certification includes many, many original materials that you can use one-on-one with clients. There's just many ways of dealing with this. I know for a fact that we have some people on the webinar who don't work with clients and aren't in the helping professions, but just wanted the information. I thought the information was really important enough to raise consciousness, and so did several thousand people that registered. So I think we're on track there. I think it's up to each of us how we share that with clients and colleagues. Um, but I think when we understand the impact, we're able to make better and smarter choices in the work we do with clients. As I said 2 or 3 times today, there's so much more than dollars and cents and budgets involved. And you saw my model for financial health. There's so much else going on. So the more where we are in the helping professions, the better I think we serve our clients.
Okay, Rita, and do you want to take one more?
Oh, sure. This is the fun part.
Okay, let's see. I need to take this class again. When is this offered again? And I know you've answered that, but
It's
I'll
fine.
let you.
It's fine. You will receive the recording by email probably today or tomorrow. And so you can go through it as many times as you like. I'm glad you feel that it was valuable. I hope everyone feels it was valuable. Again, we put a lot of time and work into creating it for you. So thank you.
And the comment we had, they said, oh, let's see. I think they said they needed to talk to you. I just lost it. Oh, here it is. Okay. Need to, and maybe they were saying need to talk to you. Patient waiting for me. Thanks again, and I will register for more. if they are interested in the certification.
Well, that's fine. And if, I know people do have clients waiting and have things to do, and we've gone over time. I want to thank everyone for spending this time with us and hope that you'll join us again in the future. Have a beautiful rest of the day, everyone. And we'll see you soon. Thanks for being part of the financial social work community. We love having you.